Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Horses Advocate Podcast. This is Doc T, and my second attempt to get some clarity on a subject that I think is important. I went into this year of 2024 so excited because on one of the first visits of this year, I went to see a client who believed in what I said and changed her diet from grain to no grain and adding soybean meal. And she says her horses have never looked better, have behaved beautifully, are performing just as well as ever. She's blown away by the improvement that these horses have gone through now that they're using protein as the primary source of nutrition, followed by fat and carbohydrates. And it's not news to me. I know this. This is the way it should be. But then a lot of things have occurred. We've gone almost 6 weeks into this new year. And in the past week to two, I've been swamped, mostly with people who said things like, I tried that no grain thing on my 29-year-old mare and she lost weight. So I just stopped. I said, but you've known me for 20 years. Why didn't you pick up the phone and call me? Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Yet all the information that I've provided every one of you listening to this is out there for free on the internet in podcast form, on YouTube, on your favorite podcast radio station, also the website. And I had to take a deep breath and ask myself, why is this happening? Whose fault is it? I mean, obviously, I'm doing the best I can on this end, or am I? And it turns out that I'm not. So in the past month, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, we've been really pushing out these podcasts into the video format on the platform called YouTube, which everybody can get worldwide. And my son has been doing a fantastic job. And these things are going to get out and light the fire under most horse owners who are looking for more information. But that's only one part of it. The other part is that they're looking for information. And I hear so many people who are desperate. For instance, a gal called me from way up northern Florida near the Georgia border. And she was setting up an appointment. She says, yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing this one. It's got laminitis and I'm so frustrated. And I just hate Florida and I'm leaving here and I can't find any good vet. I can't find any good farriers. I'm so frustrated. On and on she went, to the point that I was concerned that I'm hesitating to use the right words here. Let's look at it a little bit differently. Here's a woman who has a horse that is suffering with a very painful disease, and the horse is having difficulty getting up and down. And her farrier has not helped her. That farrier has been fired, and other farriers come in. And her veterinarian hasn't helped her either. And no one is telling her that the hoof needs the good nutrition that you and I know it needs. They're basically saying it's over. And that hopelessness not only is painful in our hearts, but in our minds. To feel hopeless when every one of you listening to this podcast love your horse, love your horses, and want to do the best for them. And yet you're reaching out, trying to find good information, and the professionals in your area are letting you down. Whose fault is that? Well, let's look at a lot of things. I like to look at the vet schools. The vet schools are not preparing the veterinarians and how to treat diseases and injuries of our horses from the owner's perspective. We like to, or the new vets like to come out and apply all their toys and gadgets without understanding the metabolic things that are going on that are created by the industry leaders who are basically paying for the research, paying for what's going on at the universities. And that's a very profound statement. And I'm sure that's raising the hackles of a lot of people. But I'm being pushed in a corner. I'm being pushed in a corner every time I hear somebody say, uh, when I ask them, what are they feeding their horse? Oh, I'm feeding this supplement and I'm feeding this grain. And then I say, yeah, but what about hay and pasture? Oh, yeah, of course, they're getting hay and pasture. And I'm like, but where's the protein? And they're like, I don't know. The bag says it has, 14% protein. But I'm feeding this supplement for joints. I'm feeding this supplement for a better hair coat. And they keep going on and on without understanding. One person said today, "Oh, my horse is on this stuff for the itchy mane. Why is a horse itching? Why does he have scratches or grease heel or whatever you want to call it, dermatitis in the back of the pastern?" And they're not asking the right questions. I even heard today from the barn manager that the veterinarian had suggested to a broodmare who is reaching her last third term or trimester of the pregnancy. She actually told the owner, start feeding more grain because the foal needs it. And where's this veterinarian been? I mean, for the first thing, why is she out there ultrasounding at the last trimester? I mean, you can feel the pregnancy and they bump you, they're alive. What are you going to do to stop an abortion at that point? But, she was doing a full exam and then advising to add more calories to help the growth of the foal. And what she didn't understand was the mare is already doing that by converting her body fat into what's needed for the foal to grow at a very regulated rate. But when you add more sugar to the diet, you're going to increase insulin, which is going to increase body fat on the mare. So everybody looks happy, but the foal basically isn't getting the nutrients it needs, or worse yet, it's growing too fast because it has too much energy. And you get all the developmental diseases that foals get: osteochondrosis dissecans, epiphysitis, contracted tendons, and angular limb deformities. But where's the vet advising this woman? She's not. So I ran into a veterinarian today. And it's so funny because the last time I saw him was about 20 years ago. We decided it was about 20 years, and that's about right. I've heard his name everywhere. In fact, I just heard it last week where the barn manager said he had done a fecal transplant on a horse with fecal water syndrome. And I was just blown away because how many vets are out there doing fecal transplants? So he saw me and came over and said, "Hey, Dr. Tucker, how are you?" I said, "Well, how did you recognize me?" He says, "Well, you're the only vet I know who works out of a Tesla." I'm like, okay, that's fair. He didn't look like he was working out of his vet truck. Apparently, it just totaled it 2 weeks ago in a horrific car crash. Luckily, everybody's okay. But we immediately recognized that we are the dying breed. He's my age. And we realize that we still understand the horse. We understand the physical diagnosis requiring our eyes, our ears, our sense of touch, and all these things. And he called it the bridge between the old and the new. And I've always joked that the veterinarians spend their first year learning how to draw blood or how to say, let's draw blood in almost every situation. And their second year learning how to turn the machine on, to which he laughed. And they seem to be separated. So on that note, I want to try something, and I'm going to share the screen with two pictures. Here's the first picture I want you to look at. This is a painting done by a Historical Medical Society depicting a veterinary scene in the year 1895. And I find this fascinating because first, there's no women in the picture. Second, the architecture is kind of weird with its curves and it's really rare to see curves, and these look like wooden things, and there is a something that's going around the belly of this horse. Maybe it's preventing him from being cast or weighing or who knows what, but there's nobody in there, and he's just sitting there with something around it. I have no idea what that is, because 1895 was before my time. I am an older person, but I'm not that old. But I want you to take a good long look at this. If you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm going to describe everything I can come up with. We have a groom who is holding onto the horse, and the horse seems connected to the groom. And I like that. Although there's not a lot of passion from the groom coming to this horse. It's almost like he's fearing the person. I don't know. Then there's a man standing behind the horse with a top hat on, and I'm not too sure who he is. I'm going to guess he's the owner. And I say that because of the painting on the next page. In the back, there are two men, one who's holding the tail, which I find fascinating. He's wearing an apron, which a lot of veterinarians used to wear to protect their clothes. And he's holding the tail, and there might be a rope that the other man is holding that's going to a surcingle, and I'm not too sure exactly what they're doing. And then, of course, there's a man on one knee with an apron on who appears to be the veterinarian. And he seems to be in charge. He's holding something in his hand. He's got a couple of bottles and some bandages next to a bucket that's made out of wooden planks that are strapped together, because that's how buckets were made. They didn't have plastic back then. It looks like a mouth gag on the bottom here. And there's also a set of hobbles, which I find interesting. So I want you to look at all the people's eyes. They are all looking at the horse. Even the dog is looking at the horse. And there's a little boy off to the side, which has been cut off in this picture. And the little boy is looking at the horse. Everybody's looking at the horse. And I find that fascinating because the horse is the center of attention. Okay, now I want you to take a look at this picture. The first one was from 1895, and this is a picture from 2005, which is relatively recent. It's about 20 years ago, but it still is over 100 years, 110 years between these two images, the paintings, I should say. And I want you to notice that the groom also seems disassociated with this horse. He's got a hand on the shoulder. He's kind of holding the horse, and the horse is somewhat connected, but the horse is at full attention, bright eyes and ears pricked forward. Behind the horse is another man, I'm going to guess is an owner. And down on one knee is a veterinarian who has a probe that is probing the right front tendon. And the line of the probe is going to a black box that is sitting on a bale of straw. Next to the veterinarian, behind the veterinarian, is a woman standing, and she has a veterinarian emblem on her coveralls. So they're not using aprons anymore. They use coveralls. And she's got a stethoscope slung over her neck. And over to the side is another young boy standing there. And the boy, the female vet, the male vet, and the owner are all staring at the black box, and they're not looking at the horse. And I just found that this scenario seems so disconnected from the horse. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know why that is. So if you aren't watching this on YouTube, I get it. It's fine. Those two pictures were painted by a medical firm that is trying to depict correctly, historically correct, what was going on. In the old picture, everyone was connected to the horse. They had devices to try to control the horse, but the horse was looking pretty well controlled, hopefully with some horsemanship. And they were applying what they needed to apply to help the horse. The other picture in 2005 is no different than today. Other than today, almost every horse I see being touched by a veterinarian is usually medicated to the point that they are sedated heavily, often to do procedures that don't need any drugs at all. And we've all seen this. And whose fault is that? Is it necessary? The question is, really, is it my fault because I'm not getting enough of these videos out? Is it a local veterinarian's fault because he or she is too busy? They don't have time. They are concerned about their own health. Do they feel like they're overtaxed? They're mentally overworked, that they're suffering burnout, that when they get home, they don't want to open a journal. They don't want to listen to a podcast. They don't want to invest their time in learning. Do they trust their veterinary college to give them everything that they're supposed to have? Are they also trusting their continuing education? And you've heard me talk about the continuing education I go to, and I'm struggling through it because they're not up to date. They are siloed into what their belief system is. They don't open up to look at other possibilities. They're rarely challenged. And our journals do the same thing, where if you tear them apart, what looks to be scientific and giving what they call evidence-based medicine is not actually that good, especially when it comes to equine dentistry, I can tell you. But in everything that's going on out there, it's hard to find good evidence-based medicine. It's hard to find veterinary schools who are even caring about the equine veterinarian. They are more concerned about the shortage, perceived shortage or actual shortage of small animal vets. I see the data coming in. I already had a podcast about the 11 new veterinary colleges right here in North America that are going up. And they're graduating more and more veterinarians, and they're all going into large corporate practices where they have that time off for the work-life balance so they can actually be people. And I don't see them actually digging in and committing their life to the animal that is depending on us to take care of them. And again, I understand this is ruffling a lot of feathers. I get that. And I know why you're angry. I would be angry too if somebody said to me that I don't care, that I'm only in it for the money, that I'm not caring about learning or growing or doing the right thing. It's an awful thing to say to anybody. The guy who's working on your car, your own physician, the guy coming out to fix the plumbing in your house. You know, we expect everything to be done perfectly. But in the world of medicine, which is not plumbing or cars or jewelry or computers, everything mechanical has a right or wrong, and improvements usually are good. But in medicine, especially with other creatures besides humans, there is so much more to the animal than the veterinarians can give. They have to work harder. They have to understand that the reason we're in it is to help the horse. The reason the fair is there is to help the horse. And the way we can help the horse is to prevent the things that are happening to the horse, which is what the whole horses advocate is about. Helping horses thrive in a human world is basically saying we have to honor the horse for who they are, that they have evolved to eat certain things and to have certain needs of friendship with other horses, a little scuffling out in the field. But if they're getting scratches, if they're getting unhealing wounds, if they're getting neurodegenerative diseases, if they're getting obesity, if they're getting lamenesses and breakdown of connective tissue, if any of these things are happening, the hooves are falling apart. They're not staying together. Whose fault is that? I don't know. I don't know where to place the finger, but I'll tell you what, I'll take it. I'll say it's my fault. I'm not doing a good enough job here. So I'm going to continue to come out here and get these podcasts out on a timely fashion. I'm going to have my live question and answers for the members of the Horse Advocate every other week. I'm going to post these podcasts on YouTube and make sure people are following on Twitter, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever else we can get this message out. We're going to do the best we can. And the more I become populated in the world of horses, I know I'm going to get more pushback. And I invite that. I invite people to challenge me that the horses don't need protein. The horses don't, need to be reduced in the amount of sugar that's going in their bodies. The horses don't need all the vitamins and minerals that are being proclaimed as beneficial for the horse. Horses don't need all the processed foods that we're getting in the grain bags with labels with 10, 15, 20 ingredients, half of which you don't even know what they are or even be able to pronounce. There's other aspects of the Horse Advocate, like how do you get the proper fencing, how to use gaits correctly, how to wrap a leg, take care of an umbilical hernia, how to deliver a foal. We've got it all here at the Horse Advocate, and I know I've got a lot more work to do. So sometime this month, which is February of 2024, I'm going to be seeing my 80,000th horse, and I'll do a whole podcast on it. But that's a lot of horses that I've seen just for dentistry. That doesn't include all the horses I saw from 1973 to 1983 when I floated my first horse, or 1984 when I graduated from vet school. It doesn't include the first dozen years where I saw so many horses for so many other things. It doesn't include the horses I loaded up on my tractor trailer and drove around the country, 18 wheelers, Mack, Freightliner, Peterbilts, 13 speed, 18 speed transmissions. I've done that. I've had in my 51 years of horses, I have so many experiences, and I've learned the wrong things and I've learned the right things from people who have, combined centuries of information. And I'm going to take the blame. It's not your veterinarian's fault. It's not your farrier's fault. It's not your body worker's fault. It's not your complimentary veterinary or worker's fault. It's not the feed dealer. It's not the magazines. It's not the corporate beings that are trying to sell you all their stuff. It's none of that. I've got to do a better job. I've got to do a better job in connecting with you and inspiring you to do a better job so you can help your horses and you in turn can help other horses. It is a network of effect. It's whether you live right here in Florida or you live in, the other side of the planet, South America, Australia, New Zealand, Asia, anywhere in Europe, Canada, any place that you're hearing my voice or watching my videos. I need you to tell me what you need to hear. What are the problems? I probably have heard every one of them. But tell me what needs to be said. Tell me that I'm not saying it well enough for you. Tell me if I need to repeat it. Tell me if I need to put on a special seminar or have a series of podcasts dedicated to one thing only. I really need some feedback from you all. Because yes, I'm sitting in a brand new studio and I love the studio. I've used my car as a studio. I've used my hotel room as a studio. But this isn't going to help the person who isn't going to hear it. So I do need your help. I will take the mantle, I will shoulder the blame, and I will move forward between now and the day I die, which hopefully isn't tonight. You never know. But hopefully I will get the information out for all of you to help all horses thrive in a human world. Yes, they're leaving us fast. The veterinarian I talked to said the same thing. No, it wasn't the vet. It was one of my clients. He said, all the horse farms are vanishing down here. They're all being turned into communities of homes. We're seeing it in every industry. The number of horses is diminishing. It seems like only the wealthy can have them. But that's in the future. Today, this moment that you're listening to this video or this audio, this moment, you have a horse and you have a choice to help it thrive in the human world or to let it be driven by other people into their early demise. I don't think anybody wants that. I don't want to end on a negative note. I'm getting more and more people contacting me saying, thank you, it's made a difference. My horses feel better. They are looking better. They're performing better. They're acting better. They're sweating again. They're not lame anymore. They've taken their horse off Cushing's medication with the help of their veterinarians doing the testing. I hear it from all over. And I think if you know veterinarians out there who are willing to join this, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for veterinarians who say, I get it. I don't understand it. I want to learn more. Let's have a discussion on it. Let's see if we can make sense here and challenge me. I may change some of my views in the future. It's possible. But we're all going to be going to the same goal. So thanks for letting me ramble on here. I appreciate it. If you didn't get a chance to go to the video and see those pictures, they are hanging on my wall in my living room. To the left is the Super Bowl, and to the right are these two pictures. And I look at them every time I'm in the living room, and it just reminds me how disconnected we are getting from an animal that needs this connection more than ever. So let's help all of us learn how to connect again with a horse. Anyway, thank you for spending your time with me again. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're on your podcast program, please follow. Make sure you like and comment at any chance you get. Good or bad comments, at least I know you're listening. And again, communicate with me. Let me know what you need me to talk about some more. All right, I'm sure in another couple of weeks, I'll talk about my 80,000 float. But other than that, I'm wide open to any suggestion you guys have. Thank you very much. Talk to you later. Bye. Hey, everyone. Doc T here. Thank you for listening to my content. Would you do me a huge favor? Would you please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, and give a star review? However it's presented to you, I want you to do that. There's two reasons. The first, of course, is to improve this product. This way I know what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve upon, what topics you want me to cover. But more importantly, it's also going to help others find me. And by doing that, you are now engaged in this mission of helping horses thrive in a human world. By you helping, we can reach others. And that I would be so grateful for. And remember, go to thehorsesadvocate.com for updates on this information. Thehorsesadvocate.com. And again, thank you so much for being here. Doc T out.